right, guys, thank you for opening this video. I'm John Ford, this is Progressive Insider. I have something really, really special for you today. I have the global chair of Democrats Abroad, Julia Bryan here. Julia, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Don. Great to hear your voice and see your face too.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. You are in the middle of a little bit of election, I hear.
We are. We're wrapping up our global presidential primary, which runs from March 3rd to March 10th. So we have until March 10th for everyone to get their votes in, and then we'll start doing the global tally.
The global tally. So it has such a more magnificent sound than the rest of the party chairs. I think the Democrats, you guys abroad, get really shoved to the side, and I think it's all because this global chair role is easily the coolest title that the Democratic Party has to offer. I'm just putting that out there, by the way.
Well, we try to be cool, you know. It's the only thing we get is coolness. No salaries, etc.
Exactly. It's all volunteer based. These guys do it all on their own. When people talk about the establishment, this is not that. And in 2016, they went overwhelmingly for Bernie Sanders. I'm not sure what's going to happen this time, but I'm optimistic. What are you hearing on the ground for people with different candidates? Has the dropouts affected how people are going to vote? Because now there's time, and we've had so many happen.
Well, that's a really good question. You know, I think having people drop out after Super Tuesday, of course, that's going to make people, you know, everyone didn't really have a lot of time to realign and figure out if they were who they want to vote for. So it might have a bit lowered the numbers for the weekend, but we're not really sure yet how much.
Oh, right, because you're still waiting for the full tabulation.
Exactly.
So how does this voting work? I mean, we're talking about voting in how many countries?
Well, we probably over 190 countries. We have members in 197, and not all of them are going to vote because it is a primary, but we usually get a lot. I would guess that we'd have people in at least 190 countries who cast their vote.
Wow, yeah, you have a map that I had seen. It was, again, the first time I had seen it, of how many events that you had or voting locations around the world, and that is really managing that. You're going to really show Iowa up, because they're like,
yeah, exactly. We're a little bit broader in terms of geography than Iowa. That's true.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had satellite caucuses and worldwide caucuses and all this stuff this year, and they just totally couldn't handle it properly.
Well, this is, you know, working digitally is something we do all the time. We are basically a digital organization. We've been running digital aspects of our global conventions and meetings for years and years and years. So it's nothing new for us. We tend to go with you know, with something that the tried and true, the solutions that we are all familiar with. You know, all of our leadership knows how to use a Google form. We're all very comfortable with email. We really work with simple solutions that work for all of our volunteers, and I think that's the secret to making sure things work and we're coordinated.
I have a question for you, and this just occurred to me. Did anyone come to you when they set up this whole process to discuss this remote tabulation? Because it seems like you have a system that works pretty effectively.
Well, no, because, you know, we're outside the mainstream. We are, you know, most people don't think about us. We are apples to an orange bucket. And so I don't think people would necessarily say, oh, let's go to Democrats Abroad for this type of solution. But I do have to say, we do have probably the coolest remote ballot tallying process. I really love it. It's very secure. It's all run through Amazon and some great solutions that Amazon provides. You know, everything's encrypted from beginning to end. And it's also incredibly easy to make sure people's votes are viewed both by humans, and so that it's really easy to tally the results.
Oh, so it's like similar to a paper trail in its own way.
Oh, it's a tremendous paper trail. Every email is you know, drops to the bottom of this Amazon email bucket, and it's basically it's like a stone. It can't be removed. And then we just you know, we basically are able to add a bit of metadata on top of it, but nothing can be ever deleted. So you like 400 people can sit there and add metadata on top of that email information, but nothing was ever edited or changed. It's
right.
Just added to.
That's why the Google Docs are actually really good, because you can see where the edits and shifts go if something went wrong. It actually is a really effective way to tally votes.
Well, that's true. Well, with the Google Doc, that's just another. That's not where the final tally is going to be. That's where we keep up with our reporting. And I'm sure, you know, as we're having people coming to us from all over the world, calling in their results, you know, sending in their results by photos of their tally sheets, and then of course physically mailing in their results as well. So we have lots of different ways of verifying and checking with against these different pieces to make sure that they all tally, so to speak.
So you have a week to vote. Was what, March 3rd to the 10th, right? And
Exactly.
how long does it take you before you have your worldwide tally finished?
Okay, that's a good question. And the other thing I wanted to mention is we did have early voting, so people could start on February 18th doing remote voting. So we had from February 18th to March 2nd was all remote early voting, and then the in-person event started March 3rd, and everything's winding up on the 10th. We are now people are actually sending in their ballots from all over the world, literally all over the world, to Prague, and we will then have a global tally here in Prague, and that will start on the 17th and run until the 23rd.
So on the 23rd of the month is when you have the final.
Exactly. The final announcement. But it's a slow, secure, slightly boring, but I love how solid it is as a process.
Well, it's funny because everyone keeps talking about Super Tuesday results, and because they don't know how to read the map in regards to where Democrats Abroad is this, everyone keeps asking where the Democrats Abroad results are. And they're like, oh, well, it goes until the 10th. And I'm like, no, the 23rd, guys, the 23rd.
Exactly right. I want to see those ballots. I want to see the whites of the eyes of those ballots before we make those final results.
Right. And then I have to ask, so from there, that sounds great, by the way. I'm kind of stunned that I didn't plan on talking about this at all. I'm stunned that we are talking about something that's so important that with everything we're seeing this year between the caucus results and people not trusting election integrity issues, you seem to have developed a system that is actually quite secure and effective. And
right, but it's very slow. That's the thing to remember. I think it would be hard for other states to adopt it.
Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying.
And by the way, we had Bernie reps in, I think, like 60% of our voting centers.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So did this happen organically, or did the campaign have an active move into the Democrats Abroad?
Okay, so basically, we offered all campaigns the opportunity to have one campaign rep at each voting center. They had to get in touch with us. It had all to be coordinated at both the national headquarters level and at the global level, so that we were all on the same page. No self-appointments. It worked out really well, and the Sanders campaign put a bunch of reps literally all around the world in many of our voting centers. And we each team had guidelines to know how to work with each other, and I think it's great for our volunteers. They're seeing that the campaigns are taking them seriously. And we had actually really great rapport for the most part across all of the voting centers between the reps who were sitting there, who were observing, and then the volunteers who were running the voting events. Well,
that is so great to hear. It's great to hear the campaigns working together. It's great to hear something so complicated can be so effective. It's just this is a really, I think there is something for other states to learn from what you've done here and what you've accomplished, because I actually prefer this slower method of voting, where there's more time for people to get involved. The count is done properly. I mean, when you really look at what happens in the actual voting process, we have a little early voting. Then the vote count isn't supposed to be qualified for 30 days, but we rush out the totals for election night results. But we're not getting totals on March 10th when the election night closes. We're going to get the totals on the 23rd. And that's
exactly.
I feel like that's something we should move towards in voting in general, which is a sub-issue. It's just a personal thing. We should move towards that in voting, where it's like election day should be like a whole month where the process is happening.
Absolutely. And the other thing, that I really love about our process is that we capture the excitement of Super Tuesday. A lot of people want to come and vote on Super Tuesday because it's all in the news, and they are very thrilled to be able to be involved. But then we also make sure we have what we call it Super Saturday. So that way, people who are working during the weekend can't come to vote in our Super Tuesday events. They can actually participate on the weekends and come out and voting. And I think it's a really much more equitable way. It definitely raises the numbers of people who can participate.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it. This is just, the whole process is equitable in a lot of ways. And that's the problem. That's where we need to move to in voting. We have to move a direction of everyone having the fair shot of votes being counted properly. So let's just talk about something else. Move on. Everyone's wondering about delegates. How does your delegate process work? Because that seems like there's just another more complicated issue.
Well, we have 13 pledged delegates, and then we have 8 automatic delegates. Now, the 13 pledges are pretty normal. We have our regional and that are divided up between Asia Pacific, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and Americas. And then we have our global delegates, and that includes our PLEO and our alternates. Then what we have is the 8 automatic. And the funny thing and different thing about Democrats Abroad is that our automatic delegates each have 1/2 vote instead of 1 full vote. So that's a bit different for us than for other parties, but it's just part of our structure. It enables us to have more people around the world rather than just 4 delegates.
Right. How many of those half delegates do you have?
We have 8. So we have a total of 4 votes.
Interesting. Interesting. I had said early on that there was a way that the interesting thing is when the win number on the second ballot, which hopefully won't happen, we can talk about that in a second, it would actually be changed because of those half votes. It is actually 1 vote lower than everyone thinks it is because of the half votes. If a half vote didn't vote and a half vote did vote, then you cut down the entire win number by an entire vote.
That's right. That's true.
Yeah, it's that because we saw that at the DNC leadership elections in 2017.
That's right. You could always tell when Democrats Abroad vote because you'll see those 0.5 tabulations.
Yeah, everyone's like, where did that come from? But there it is, and they're important. And I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? I feel like the half vote thing is sort of a little bit of it's a little underhanded move. I feel like you deserve a full vote.
Well, it's if we had the choice was between 4 DNC members and 8 DNC members, 4 with full votes, 8 with half votes, I'd go with the 8 anytime. It's so great for us to have so many people at DNC meetings and at the convention representing us. It makes us really able to get around and really make sure our message is heard. And that's the number one thing that's our goal when we're at these meetings is to tell our story and make sure people know that what we're doing and why we're there, and basically the fact that we're bringing them votes. That's the most important thing that we can do is advocate for the work that we do and make sure that they recognize us. So I don't mind at all. It's something that we're used to at this point, and for the most part, being the body in the room is a more powerful thing than in general than casting your vote for different issues.
You explained that so beautifully that I almost didn't interrupt you at a certain point when I needed to. That was okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense. That really, really does. I think you're making a really, really good point. And I do agree with you about the bodies in the room because, I've been there. I've watched the DNC members. I've watched the delegates abroad at work. And it's really real. It's really real. They send really effective people. They do a really great job. And people do know why they're there. And you do have the best data people consistently, by the way. Every data person I've ever met is like way, way above my conversation level even.
Oh, that's cool. Thank you so much. And we make a big push to make sure we're always at the front of the room, standing up, letting people know who we are. We are all about the message.
Yeah, no, you guys really are, and you do a great job at it. It's really something else. So let's see, delegates right now your votes for the primaries go into the Delegates Abroad section, or excuse me, the Democrats Abroad section, and they become the Delegates Abroad. But for the general election, your votes go to the direct states, right?
Yes, exactly. We can be really impactful in different states. In 2018, we won Florida's only statewide Democratic win. That was Nikki Fried's race. She's the agriculture commissioner now. Without our votes from abroad, she would not be that commissioner. We'd have a Republican in that seat.
I was actually working on that, not on her race, but I was working on the Gillum race. I was the North Florida pod director's personal consultant on that race. And thank you for that, by the way, because we really needed that race. And so that everyone understands, what they tried to do in Florida was manipulate the race using field so that they would, there's a little plug in the middle of everything, where they would make Nelson win, but Gillum lose. And they ended up making both Nelson and Gillum lose, and Nikki Fried won. And consequently, she is now the leader in the party because she has the largest weighted vote in Florida as the only statewide representative.
That's right. And, Florida has such a small margin. It's like a 0.5% margin. And that is where Americans abroad, Democrats abroad, are going to be helping this year win the White House through Florida. It's incredibly important to remember that. We send more votes back to Florida than to any other state in the United States, and we can really help make that difference.
I am so impressed right now because this is exactly what I've been talking about. This is exactly what I've been saying about Florida, how important it is right now, because this is where it all happens. And we don't, and the campaign, it doesn't matter who the candidate is, our placement in Florida is not strong.
That's right, exactly. I mean, it's just such a small margin. And so when you have 100,000 people sending their votes back from abroad, that 100,000 can really make or break the election. And that's why we're working on doubling that number and making sure we bring home that 29 electoral votes for you guys.
So what you're saying is there's a way to coordinate votes from abroad into states that are of a higher value.
Well, we work across the board because we know that when we raise the tide of voting abroad, for one state, we're raising the tide for other states too. But what we can do is we can be really effective and directed in terms of our digital ad strategy, for example. In 2018, we were doing global digital ads that were targeted to Florida voters. And we were, every time you message to your Florida voters, you can do phone banking to your Florida voters. You can do a lot of different things that help target specific states and just remind them, it's really important. Here's your deadlines, and here's how you get in your vote. And then, of course, after the election, we were actually helping make sure that Florida votes were counted, because there was that period of time where there were some problems, and we called up as many of our Florida voters as possible and to let them know, make sure your ballot got counted, make sure your ballot got back to your local election office. And so there's a lot of things we can do to help make that impact even stronger than just our regular outreach.
This is so great to hear. I was there for that. I was working on curing the ballots in Jacksonville
Exactly.
because the issue was with ballots not being counted because of signature issues. And so what they allowed us to do was the opportunity to go track down these people. It was just a horrible nightmare what they had us do. We were tracking down these people individually. We're calling them at home. We only had till 5 p.m. because it's a non-friendly Republican state. And we were finding people, but we also had to have them notarized. So I had to create this whole system of how we had 6 different steps of how we were finding these people. And we only ended up getting like 25 or something like that. And it just felt like such a huge accomplishment. So anything that anyone can do on that level is just really, really amazing.
Absolutely. And we were luckily we still had our phone banking offices. We set up phone banking offices at the end, near the end of the election, to call as many people as possible. So we still had those offices up and running, and we're able to do those calls. And I was so grateful to our volunteers because, you don't expect to have to do this after the election. You expect, it's now time to go take a nap finally. But we're like, okay, this is too important for us to stop and rest. Let's go get on those phone calls and make sure as many votes as possible were cured.
It really was it really was tough the day after to have to deal with that, because we were winning earlier in the night, and then it turned around. South Florida didn't turn out the way we needed it to, and then having to wake up the next day and cure these votes when you're like within 20,000, and that as much it's just the whole thing is something that progressives need to be ready for. This is what we talk about whenever we get into Republican states or any of this sort of stuff. There's going to be this extra step, this extra placement of where the ballots are counted. This is why it's so exciting to hear that your ballots are being counted so securely, and it makes me really confident in the Democratic Abroad results. But states like Florida, where we have elections coming up, the Republicans are not very friendly when it comes to election processes.
That's right. And one other thing I'd have to say is I really think our candidates need to start not conceding. They need to wait. They need to say, this is not for me, this is for my voters. I need to make sure all of my votes are counted before I step back. And I think it's a really important thing we need to keep in mind for 2020.
I agree with you. And it's really important in general elections. Primaries are tough because apparently I just found out there are only primary recount laws in like 23 states. I think it's because we had caucuses for so long in so many states that there's no need for a primary recount law because the caucus is all handled internally. But now that we're moving away from caucuses, we've forgotten to add these laws at the state level. So there's no way to, I think we're going to see a move back to caucuses, actually, to be honest, because of this, because changing state law in a Republican state is next to impossible.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
do have recount we have a recount clause in our delegate selection plan. So that's we must be one of those 23 or 20. Maybe we're the 24th.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are like the Washington D.C. of the delegate process.
Oh,
Like
we could be. Exactly.
I feel like you get to be in the room. No, you guys are amazing. Every interaction I've had with the Delegates Abroad and the Democrats Abroad and the DNC members abroad and all of the members has just been really excellent. And what can people do to find, like, let's say people are in Germany, they're in another country. How can they find where a meeting is happening near them?
Oh, well, great question. They should go to democratsabroad.org, and then you just can look under the countries navigation and find somebody near you. And then the other thing I'd say to anybody back home, everybody knows someone who's living abroad, either someone who's a friend of yours or someone who's a family member. They don't have to be there for more than a semester. You know, there are like 300,000 students who study abroad every semester. They are great. They should definitely vote from abroad this fall. So if you have friends or family who are abroad, reach out to them, recommend that they join Democrats Abroad and get involved. And at the very least, we would love to help them vote. That's the most important thing. Most people don't know they can vote. As soon as they know they can vote, we're there to help them do the rest.
That's so great to hear. That is so amazing. All right. Well, I hope you'll come back. This has been an amazing interview. It's been so informative about what's going on with you guys. Even just learning the 23rd is when we're going to get results, because people are really, really wondering about that. And for some reason, that's not on you guys. Like, Democrats are not. No one is advertising it properly. The media is not advertising it properly, which is a whole other conversation.
My God, I've been talking to Adam Levy from CNN forever about this. He knows. They're trying to get us to deliver the results earlier, but we're not going to.
Good on you. And you know what, Julia, I hope you're an example. I want to use this as an example for what we should be doing in all of our elections, because rushing the election results, we're really sacrificing a lot of our liberty to please the media by making results come out sooner than they should.
Right.
So that's it. So this is the Progressive Insider, Julia Bryan, Democrats Abroad, Global Chair. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you will come back.
Well, Don, it would be my pleasure. It's always a great thing to see your face and hear your smile and etc.
I love the visual of hearing my smile. All right, guys. Thank you for watching this. This has been Progressive Insider. Have a great day.
Ciao. Bye.
Bye.